Hello, everyone. Cacao you doing?
Cacao you doing?
Cacao Ya Doin? We're back.
We are back, and this is our first video episode, I think, for
Yeah.
Cacao you doing.
Yes.
Well, I think we tried one before, but we didn't post a video.
It was not.
It was
didn't
only
work out.
audio.
Yeah, no, it didn't work out because it was a problem in the uploading or something. But so this is the official first one, and
Yeah,
it's
people
also
can see us.
yes, in collaboration with
Hi,
Harmoniously.
everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
And so, as usual, we bring a holistic approach to well-being, speaking about psychedelic, coaching, therapy, and so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you ready with the cacao? I had a special order of cacao. Okay.
I'm ready with my
Do you have your cacao? All right. We are good.
So we didn't decide who was gonna bless it.
I call not it.
I was just about to nominate you.
Yeah, good thing I'm fast.
That's Spirit's way of saying it. It should be you.
Ah.
I think my speaker went out.
What?
Well, are you guys really nominating me to do the first cacao blessing back on our? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seriously.
Yes.
If you have a glass of cacao or a cup of cacao or a thermos of cacao or whatever vessel you have your cacao in, place it close to your heart. Take a big, deep breath and breathe in the aromas. We really want this cacao to work as a heart opener to help us show our gratitude for life, to help us open up and be the best receivers that we can be. I want to thank all of the people who were involved in cultivating, processing, shipping, selling, and making the cacao that I'm about to drink today. Thank you, my beautiful wife. I love you. I want to thank you to Melissa for setting up this podcast, as we've been away for too long, and glad that we're all back together. Blessings to all.
I hope.
Blessing. Thank you, Rob. That was beautiful. So what kind of cacao are you taking?
So when I went to Peru, this is the cacao that I purchased a huge block of cacao. So this is the cacao that I purchased from Peru. It was a huge block. It doesn't have the because like in the other cacao that we have, it had like some other sort of spices to it. This is, I think, just straight cacao. There is no other spices added, so it's just the cacao, and it is absolutely delicious. It's very, very delicious. It's not very strong. It's more bitter.
You know, I've noticed this, that there's a little bit of oil in it. You can kind of see it.
I think that's from the oat milk.
Is it from the oat milk? Yeah. Whatever it is making my lips nice and smooth.
Pretty sure that's from the oat milk.
Well, that can be that, or that can be that in the ceremonial cacao, there's all the elements of the fruit, also the butter, the fat part of the fruit.
Like the cocoa butter from the...
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it can be both.
Yeah. Do I smell like cocoa butter?
Yeah, because I actually didn't add a whole lot of oat milk. It was just like a splash. So I don't know.
It's good. I really like the texture. It's got a really nice smoothness to it.
But I do find the Peruvian cacao is a little bit more bitter, I think, than like the Guatemalan or even the one that you brought back from Cuba. That was delicious.
I know.
Oh God,
that was the best one.
that was. It was really strong. It was so good. Yeah. You'll have to ship some of that to us the next time you go.
Yes.
So this makes me wonder if there's some kind of certification, like a Cicero, you can be for
cacao.
For cacao, like a sommelier, right? You know what a sommelier is? And
Cicero can create
is for
yeah.
But for cacao, we should, that's new goals.
Well, exactly. I know Hannah would like to go to Guatemala and sit with the people that makes her cacao, and then have take a group of people with her, and then
beautiful,
train us to how to process cacao and just sort of all the nuances about cacao and everything. And I don't know, maybe that's sort of like an introduction to this cacao cicerone.
Great idea.
Whatever.
I'm in. I'll go, man. You got cacao in.
We're there.
In your blessing, Rob, you were saying the word receiving. And that's what we were
Yes.
thinking as the topic for today's podcast, receiving. And we came up with this. We probably all had this experience of how hard it is to receive. Or probably at the beginning, we don't think much of that. I mean, at the beginning of a journey into personal growth, it's not what we think to have as a quote unquote issue. But when we start working with plant medicine or psychedelic or whatever other kind of personal work you do, you will hit this point of seeing that there is this blockage of receiving. Probably not everyone, but it's definitely a very common issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people that we've come across that have that. And I really feel like it's part of our growth in a way. Like when we go through traumas and that kind of thing, I think inevitably what comes out of that is, for some people, is that inability to receive. Like we're naturally, we like to give. Like most people like to give. They like to take care of others. They like to be there and do for others, in all different ways. But it's really rare that you do for yourself. And I think when that happens, when people have trauma, they automatically forget to receive, or they have these issues.
Okay, that's very interesting, Laura, that you said about trauma. While you were saying that, I was thinking of kids or little kids. They have no issue in receiving. They're very open to receive and even giving. So there's definitely something in between, for sure, trauma, and then they all same culture, society, and all the same things that close this ability of receiving.
Yeah.
So I come at this with a little bit of a different perspective in that I have an easy time receiving. And so I kind of look at, yeah, I think so. I feel that I do. I feel that I deserve whatever comes towards me.
So you're probably in the small group of people that.
Yeah, I mean, there are. I have certain struggles in certain circumstances, but I find the people with an inability to receive interesting. So I have a lot of interest in this topic. I've done some research and I've looked up, different approaches, and some I resonate with, some I think are silly, but I think it's all a really personal thing. I don't think there's any magic serum that you can have that'll turn it on or off. I think it's a learned thing over time. I think I learned it as a child and I just used it in my whole life.
Well, would you say then that the value of receiving was pressed, like when you were a child, that your parents basically taught you that the importance of receiving?
No, my parents didn't really teach me much. Through experience, I learned a lot of stuff. I feel that I earned a lot growing up. I was given a whole lot.
You were given a lot.
I had opportunity. I had a lot of opportunities, but I seized those opportunities.
You mean emotionally?
Oh, emotionally, that's a different story. I don't know. Well, that's a whole landmine field to walk around in. I don't even know what you're getting at with that emotional question.
Well, there's definitely, as when we talk about any subject or any words, that so much behind it, so many layers. So so Laura was saying receiving emotion, and you're saying receiving. So also, what can we define as receiving?
Exactly.
Well, it didn't even cross my mind emotionally.
And
I didn't receive emotionally much at all growing up. So that's probably why I didn't think that.
So when you think of receiving, then when someone says, all right, do you have an easy time receiving or do you have a tough time receiving? What is the first thing that you think of as a definition? Is it like, are you receiving, emotionally receiving? Are you physically receiving something like a present, or what was your first thought? I'm just curious.
Physical, receiving something like a gift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, so okay, so
Or maybe even like opportunities, like someone gives you an opportunity to do something, a job opportunity, or whatever it is.
okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be a physical thing, but you know, I just didn't necessarily equate that with, you know, you giving me love and me receiving love. It didn't register.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with receiving your love. I get a lot of
that.
So that's also yeah, but it's definitely this emotionally receiving, and also like compliments, for example. I think that's a big one also. That I think that's where for example, me, I have this issue of receiving, and I've been working on that for a long time, but I started noticing with compliments, for example, that if anyone will give me any compliment, I will always like kind of dismiss in a sense, and I had to learn to just say thank you instead of say, oh, no, that's nothing, oh, no, you know, like that's not true, I'm not this or that. It was a learning curve to just say thank you, and then the first step was just say thank you, and then the second step was also to receiving inside, you know. So it was like I took it step by step. Definitely actually I have to go back. The first step was noticing it. The second step was realizing that actually it was something good to learn to receive, and then I went from say thank you and then from the inside. But I still have like definitely some material things, or gift or money. I think it's a big one. Even when, at least for me, when I do work, when I do something like that for me is an offering, like that could be coaching or helping someone. That's really tricky, even though I know that it's energy exchange and it needs to be done this way, but it's still like I have a hard time receiving.
I remember an event where I watched you struggle through that a little bit. I don't want to say struggle, but it was an incident that comes to mind, and it was when you got that beautiful flute from Andrew. Remember that?
Yes.
It was such a beautiful instrument, and I just remember you opening it up, and I could tell you felt a little uncomfortable, like, wow, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah, because it was such a big present, and there's definitely the triggers of I'm not worthy of deserving, and that's one of the root of having issue in receiving, the feeling of not deserving it. And I was thinking today before the podcast, at least in the Catholic Church, there is a part of the Mass where you keep saying, "Oh God, I don't deserve it," but so on and so on, or I'm not worthy of it. I don't know the exact translation in English. And I was thinking, okay, well, so you grow up repeating that as a mantra all the time to God. So that's definitely create, it creates some affect. And definitely that also went into society. And there's more, but that was one little thing that I was thinking, oh yeah, that's definitely something that contributes to the whole issue.
Yeah, you know, I have a hard time understanding someone feeling like I'm not deserving.
Really?
That for me, I have a cognitive dissonance, because the fact that you're getting it literally is the definition of you being the one who's deserving of it. You know, like the fact that you have it means that you were deserving of it. It came to you.
That's
to
interesting.
me, that's so I
never thought about it.
I'm with Mel on that. Like I think I went for 6-7 years before I even recognized the fact that I had issues with receiving. Like I didn't even notice it at all. Like I just knew that I was a giver, as I just didn't realize how uncomfortable I was receiving. And so now then I had to work through it, just like what you did, Mel. Work through it, like acknowledging that I did have an issue. But for me, like my brain literally, I have to rewrite it and say I am, like the thought that I'm already worthy, which is why I'm why someone's giving something to me, that never comes up in my thoughts. Even now, like it's a constant thing for me to have to remind myself, no, yes, I am worthy. Yes, this is totally okay for someone to give something to me.
Interesting.
But then again, like as a child, for me, my entire childhood, my entire existence, was you're not worthy. You're just, you shouldn't even be here on this earth.
I grew up exactly the opposite, but not necessarily in a environment with my parents, but I competed in sports. I was in individual sports, so it was gymnastics, wrestling, things where it's just me and, the competition. And I did well in those things. And for my professional career, I was in sales. I was an individual contributor, and I worked mostly on commission. And if I succeeded, it was almost 100% doing, the things that I needed to do in order to succeed. So when I did receive the things that come from that hard work, I felt that I was deserving.
Yeah, but that maybe it's not.
That's a double-edged sword. Because if you don't then do whatever tasks XYZ to an excellent whatever status, then you don't receive, right? So then you're the only way in your brain that you think you can receive, that you're worthy of receiving, is when you do something that's but
excellent. There's a little bit of an error there, because it's not I don't think that way about everything. This has just conditioned me to be okay with receiving it.
It's just really interesting how like different people.
And, luck comes into play here a lot. So some people say, man, that person got lucky, or they got lucky, or, they're lucky. Well, there is no such thing as luck. It's you being in a position, that those things are coming to you. You might have had to do 1,000 things beforehand to put yourself into that position, but that comes to you because of the things that you've done in your life and where you've been and your trajectory. In sales or in individual sports, there's a whole lot of, that person was lucky. But the truth is, you make your own luck, right? You don't, I do believe that. You don't get lucky unless you work at it, and things will happen. Yeah. But that's a whole entire mindset that's been drilled into me for 50 years.
With sales.
Yeah. With sales. I inherently believe that I'm worthy.
Anything that comes, even if it's not a direct outcome of fruit. Now we have Hazel that comes in the picture.
Right.
Even if it's not.
Hazel's,
can you hear her?
Yes. She always been in our podcast as usual.
I know. She knows we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, well, she wants to contribute to the receiving, I think.
Yeah,
she does. I will be receiving a dog in my lap shortly.
Cool.
She receives a lot, and she takes it. I really think that's a really interesting concept of how you're able to process receiving, so freely. And yet, I know you've had some trauma. I know you've had some, things in your life, or obstacles, or challenges that you had to overcome, and those obstacles didn't hinder that. Whereas in my life, it did completely. Like it was very, very much present. So it's just, I find that very interesting, and I would really like to hear from other people who might be listening to this podcast. Like, how, did it affect them? Do they have issues based on, their trauma, or their things that happened in their life, their experiences? Did it affect their, their ability to receive? Because I know for me and you, it definitely did.
Yeah, for sure. And as we said, like, if we see kids, they are totally open to receive and to give also. Then growing up, at least in Western society, they probably have a little hard time in giving. They're more open to receive, depending on what giving, but just slightly. And then becomes, I don't know if it becomes the opposite for everyone, but there is some switch, something somewhere where this issue of receiving comes in. Hey, Hazel.
Yeah, and I don't want you guys to think that there haven't been situations in my life where I didn't feel that I wasn't worthy, because that does happen, and I think my ultimate point is that this is kind of a conditioned and learned response. I mean, if you don't feel like, it's something that, you do well in life, there are things you can do in order to change it. And, like you mentioned, Mel, receiving compliments. being able to just receive a compliment, that's something that happens more often than you think. Or just being thankful and showing gratitude for someone who's supposed to do something that, a waiter brings you a glass of water when you sit down at a table, say thank you.
Yeah.
Your cat poops in the litter box, say, thank you, cat. I appreciate that. Just show gratitude and appreciation, and accept compliments. And I think little steps like that will, tune your body more into being open and receptive to, those things when they come around to you, when someone thanks you or someone gives you something.
I think that's a good point, because when we are close to receiving compliments, keeping with this example, then it's also hard to give compliments, because the giving and receiving is a spectrum or same cycle, or they're very connected, the yin and yang. So when you're more of a giver, as we said, Laura and I are, but then at a certain point you close the other side of the cycle, then it becomes harder also to give.
And it's also really important to be a good receiver of compliments, because the compliment doesn't go over all that well if the person doesn't receive it. It's like giving a gift to someone who puts it down and walks away and doesn't even open it. It's wonderful to give compliments, and it's beautiful to see people's eyes light up and their demeanor change, and their day get brightened, just by a little compliment that you say. So being able to receive that is not only important for you, but it's important for the other people in your life who are there and giving you compliments and building you up and, loving you.
Yeah.
Well, that's like so that's the reciprocity of it, right? Yeah. So it's like when you're giving, there is a piece of you that's also receiving at the exact same time, right? So it also depends on the intention behind the giving as well, right?
Yeah, that's an important point.
Because sometimes if you're just giving, the appearance may be, oh, I'm going to give you a compliment, but really it's like, I really want you to compliment me. Right? Like you've seen people do that. Your hair looks so good today. Right? Like even though you don't think like your hair looks amazing, like looks awful. You're like,
every day.
Should I give a compliment back to them? Like they're fishing for compliments, basically. Right? So you have to be really wary of that, because it's I think so actually it was funny, because it's funny that we're doing this podcast, because Gareth Miskitaki, he actually just posted today on Facebook about the term ani. So in Quechua, the word ani, it refers to this very thing of reciprocity and mutualism, in terms of like the well-being of a community and taking care of a community and having that sort of balance of giving and taking. And it also involves obviously like Mother Nature and just the world in general. It's not just amongst people, but it's among everything. And so it is a give and take for literally everything. There's as you give, you're also taking, right? So it's something to be mindful of, like when you are giving a compliment or whatever, what's the intent behind that? Where are you going with it?
Exactly. And probably sometimes because on this receiving thing, I was reflecting on like, for example, one thing that made me close to receiving, it was this, probably feeling the intention behind it. Both from, again, having my parents, that maybe, especially my mom, she really wants me always close to her. So it really feels like every giving is just like to like bind me more to stay,
to take,
to take from me. Or the same, like probably like, well, I guess this common experience when someone from the other sex, or anyway, someone interested in you and try to offer you something, giving you something, that is not absolutely free giving. So there is this sort of closeness that we start to create, but unconsciously it takes over all the idea of receiving, instead of be able to consciously discern what is what, and put boundaries where it's not okay. At least growing up, that was my experience. And right now, reflecting on this, I'm like, okay, so how do I discern? And it's true that sometimes I just don't want to receive from someone because I don't feel this person is giving
Genuine.
anything. He's trying to taking from me with the appearance of giving, but it's not up at all any giving. It's trying to really extract.
Like not taking the drink from the creepy guy in the bar.
Yeah, that's
Right?
for sure. That's the obvious things, but there are things more complex. But yeah, exactly.
I think you make a good point there. Like discernment, like at all times we need to use discernment in all our interactions with other people. And you know, if we're receiving something, is it genuine? Is there a motive behind it? What's their intention? And you can normally feel into that, and you know right away. And it's really just honoring your own sort of intuition about that interaction and saying, okay, is this really genuine? And if it's not, then that's where your boundaries need to be, you know, applied.
Something. And then it's easy when it's the creepy guy offering you a drink.
Yes. But just like what you said, it can get very complicated, especially when it's you know, relationships, like interpersonal relationships, like with your family or your friends or something like that. It can get very complicated, or even like in a work environment. Right?
Because, like, for example, there are this sort of, let's call it extraction. They try to extract from you all those layers that are like more subtle. And I'm saying that, you know, like in a general public, people that didn't have the chance to work on themselves, so they unconsciously don't know, and they try to reach for well-being. They don't know how to do it, but so they can see you as being able to active listening, or be able to support emotionally, or like the example Rob was saying before, the compliment of like someone needing a compliment, or I think it was Laura, sorry, needing a compliment, but for their insecurities. And so they try to they do this approach of trying to extract from you in appearance of giving something. But they're actually just trying to take so much more. But they're trying to take so much more. They are so unconscious, and it's subtle energy. So they don't even consider it. They consider more, I'm offering you a coffee or this or this. So you own your time and energy, which is one of the most precious things we have, time and energy, for example. And so all that to say that this complexity and this giving and taking, that definitely, for at least for me, created those closeness in receiving at first. And now I'm working on this. But there's always layers. Yeah, I don't know if you notice that, of everything. So many layers.
No, and I think it's really important that each person takes that personal responsibility to understand where they're at. Like, are they truly giving? Why are they giving? Are they truly receiving? Why are they receiving? And really reflecting on this, because it is a really deep thing. And like you said, I mean, there's so many layers to it, and it's more than just, you know, what meets the eye, so to speak. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting topic. It's deep work. It really is. It's like a rabbit hole. You just go deep, 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 deep. Maybe you don't, because you're already willing to receive, but like for people like me,
bring it on. I'm receiving it all. I love it. You know, and the ironic thing is, like, we are all so infinitely worthy of whatever comes our way. We are in a position to receive these things, and they're coming our way divinely. You know, if you don't think you're worthy of it, well, you know, that's a challenge, and you need to address that. And I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is, you know, they compare, right? All right, me in my situation and that person in their situation, or some other situation, and then they view what their situation compared to someone else, and then they don't feel like they deserve that. Well, the greatest way to destroy anything is to compare it to something. If you want to destroy yourself, go ahead and start comparing yourself to everybody else. You know, that's the whole keeping up with the whole Joneses thing. So receive. If you feel compassion for others and you want to give to them, certainly give to them, but don't stop yourself from receiving just because you have compassion for other people. I think that's really important. And the more that you receive, the more you're able to give. So it's a spiral that feeds in and upon itself. You receive more, you give more. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you receive, the more you give. And it has a compounding effect. And you can see this in your life, and little things start creeping out of this: luck, synchronicities, all these little things, you know, and the next thing you know, your life is completely different. Why? You know, I receive differently.
That's true. That's also this receiving. So far we've been saying about receiving on like material, like on small things, and also like about others and the intention behind, and how, I'm just summarizing here, and how sometimes, and it is important to discern all these aspects of receiving. And definitely when there's intention that does not resonate, it's okay to put healthy boundaries, but not close up receiving at all completely. Keep it open. And as Rob saying now, like this cycle of giving and receiving, that comes actually first from the universe, right? From the universe, God, Mother Earth. And actually that was one of the point and the realization today while I was preparing for the podcast. And he was like, well, actually, because I just went to the supermarket and bought something. So you're like, well, I bought something, so I got it. It's not, I don't put it in this receiving part because I paid for that, you know? But actually the realization was like, well, wait, everything is given to me freely by Mother Earth, because even the money is being printed from Mother Earth. Nothing here is actually everything, even if I put work and energy, but everything in here is being given for free from Mother Earth. The money I used and the food I received is absolutely for free. So I am already, so it's just like understanding and seeing that I am already receiving so much abundance. I'm just close up and feeling not worthy, or even complain that, or comparing to others because others is more or less or whatever. So just in the mind, instead of seeing this orange has been given to me from Mother Earth, we just use money, or took a supermarket because we created this convenience in the society, and we use money as a convenience as a symbol of work and energy exchange. But everything comes freely from Mother Earth.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because so when I went to Peru for my dieta recently, and I did Castaño, I dieted Castaño, which he is the grandfather of abundance. And one of the teachings that he gave me was that abundance is everywhere. That frequency, that energy is everywhere, and it's accessible at all times to us. And it's really just basically making ourselves aware of that fact. Like, we don't have to earn it. We don't have to do anything for it. It's there. It's automatically there. It's automatically given to us constantly, every second of every day. And it's whether or not we're in the process of receiving that abundance, right? Are we in that state to receive the abundance? And basically yes, it was really like that. It was like, he was like, are you kidding? You don't have to do anything to receive. There's nothing you have to do to receive abundance. It is already there. It's already given to you. So it was really a beautiful lesson. And
you know, it's when you take that approach, the first thing you receive is divine action. You know, your inspired action. Whatever it is, the first thing that comes to you is you get to do something, and you're inspired to do it.
Huh?
Manifestation and law of attraction and all that stuff. That's what you're talking about, right? So you can't just sit around and do nothing. I mean, you can sit and think like, oh yeah, I want all this stuff to come to me. But if you sit on your couch, nothing's going to come to you, right? So physically, you can want all these things, but if you don't do anything, like, nothing's going to happen, right? Okay. So the first thing that comes to you is divine inspiration, right? And following that divine inspiration comes the divine action.
All right, we're now on the same
page. Right? All right.
That's true. I love it. That's also receiving. I never thought of it. That's
So
I love it.
yeah, you have to do something, but it's the first thing that's given to you. You don't sit and grind it out and think it and contemplate it. It comes to you. It's given to you. And then you have to act on that. And that's where the awareness comes in. If you're not aware and you're not paying attention, okay, well, it comes and goes. And then your whole life is a bunch of comings and goings and a bunch of missed opportunities. That divine inspiration is there all the time. We're always connected to it. We just need to be aware and tap into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I love that point. That's also this divine inspiration or divine creativity.
It took me a
also
little bit to understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, but
it makes sense. No,
that's
good.
It's true that divine inspiration, divine creativity just comes to us. But I'm curious to know more what other teachings from Castano, so how is it, because you said the teaching was that abundance is always available. How is it, how to reach that energy?
He basically was saying to me, he said that we need to tap into that energetic, there's a frequency of abundance that you basically have to get to, right? And just like energy, like all energy is on different frequencies, right? And so you as a person are vibrating in a certain frequency. And so in order to get to abundance, he basically said gratitude. He said it was the number one thing, gratitude. So raise your vibration using gratitude and stay in that higher vibration. You'll be able to tap into the frequency of abundance, which is always there and always around.
And so abundance is very high frequency.
Yes. Yeah. So in order to tap into that frequency, you have to raise your vibration. And in order to raise your vibration, you use gratitude.
So about 15 years ago, we started really getting into abundance and manifestation and all these things. And I read somewhere that citrine quartz holds a very high vibration for abundance and attractive qualities. Citrine quartz. And I put this on 15 years ago, and I've never taken it off. And I'm here to tell you that
a link under the podcast, everyone can buy.
I don't know if it works because we do a whole lot of abundance stuff, but I do know that it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't work. I know it works in some fashion. It does not have a negative.
It's a reminder. It's always there. If it doesn't work on, I don't know what other level on the level of a reminder, and that's one of the most important thing. If you have this constant reminder of be grateful and raise your vibration, then you tapped into abundance. So
so I think it's
it works
interesting,
even if it doesn't.
I think it's interesting how we transferred to abundance a little bit here, but it's really important because if you want abundance, you better be really good at receiving. Start getting good at it. And I don't know, and I really haven't thought this through yet, but how are the two intertwined, right? Does the one feed into the other? Does the more you receive, the more abundance you get, and the more abundance you get, the more ability to receive that you have?
It's that flow of energy, right? So it's a constant thing. And so if your thoughts and your actions say, I'm not worthy, I can't receive, it's not available to me, then you'll have no abundance, right? You'll have it. Well, actually, I should say you will have an abundance. You'll just have an abundance of that,
right?
Of not receiving, of not having, you'll have lack. You'll be living in lack, right? Yes. So you'll get the abundance of lack. But if you want an abundance of, let's say, love, then you have to tune into that. Like abundant, it's just, so you do have to receive. If you want love, you have to receive love, right? You have to have the ability to receive love.
It's there. I mean, not only have the ability to see, you just have to look. You just have to have that awareness, right?
Literally what Castano was saying. It was like, it is everywhere.
Right. It's like the yellow Toyota syndrome. I never see yellow Toyotas until someone says yellow Toyota, and then I see yellow Toyotas everywhere every day.
Yeah.
Right. It's just, it's you got to have it on the mind in order for it to happen, and then boom, it's everywhere.
And then also the image I was getting while we were talking about that is like it is there. All those things are there inside us, right? Outside, okay, but inside us, but on a seed state, okay. but we have also on a potential state, like a seed is a potential. So they're all inside us as a potential state. But if we never water that, and the watering is the practice, that will never grow. It will just always stay a potential that has never been taken, or I want to find another word, but cultivated, a potential that hasn't been used at all. Like you have the seed, but if you don't plant it and water it, it will not grow. And that's with any practice you may choose to do. We just said before about the practice of gratitude, for example. Or gratitude is recognizing the abundance we already have.
I love that example, Mel, because a lot of times you are cultivating, you're just cultivating the wrong stuff. Like Lora was describing, lack. You could sit and think and worry about lack. Well, that's all that's going to come to you. You cultivate that in your life. When you're in it, it's hard to see it because you believe that's just what your life is, right? This is my existence. This is what I'm dealing with. I'm not getting, I feel lack of this. There's no blank, 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 whatever it is. And that's the way you feel your life is, and, what's the key to breaking out of that? Boy, there's 1,000 different ways. And that's why we're doing this podcast, and that's why religions exist. And I mean, that's why meditation and yoga is available.
Yeah.
It's all about going in and seeing that, it's, I hate to break it down to this, but it's your ego, right? Your inability to receive is selfish, maybe negatively selfish, but I'm not worthy of this. You're just thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the giver or the complimenter or the one giving you love. You're just thinking about yourself and how it impacts you and your little story and your little corner of the world. So, when you're stuck in your ego and woe is me and the world's not going right, that's a hard hole to get out of. It does come back to the ego and selfishness and being trapped in your own little world, and however you can get out of that, and receiving and showing gratitude is a good stepping stone to breaking through.
Yeah. I would say very quickly, in this case, ego equals fear, in a sense. It's more like trapped into all these fears,
Well, I think just like what you were talking about with planting the seed or having that seed that's already there, like we're born as children, like ready to receive, just like what you were saying earlier. And that seed of receiving is already there. And then through our own experiences and traumas and society, either that seed is actually, like it's watered and it grows and we were allowed to, receive fully, or it's not. And so I think when it's not, I think that's when our ego is built more up, because our egos are built to protect us, right? And when we're not receiving, when that seed isn't watered, then we're like, this isn't safe. Our world is not great. And then our ego is what's built. So then it's the practice of, okay, let's recognize that that's what's happening with our ego, and how can we now water that seed? What can we do? What are the things that we can do to water our seed?
And as you said, like the society around us, you said, so the society around us, it is a common, let's call it mental disease. That everybody's watering the wrong seeds.
They are.
So it's like that's the normal. If I'm watering love, I am the one that is pointed as the weird one, in a sense.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about our culture is that a lot of times that pendulum swings way too far. So someone would be like, oh, geez, I need to water this. They break out the fire hose and they blast all the seeds away and they just take too much water. And then nothing happens and nothing grows. So
that's a good point.
Making sure, you do it in the right approach and right moderation, jumping off and, all of a sudden saying, hey, I have a spiritual life. Now I'm like super spiritual and, jumping into the deep end, it's going to give you a spiritual ego, isn't going to help all that much. Yeah. So moderation and watering those seeds, in the right amount, it's super important. You can't just go and do too much.
When you said that, the first thing I thought of was love bombing. So no, I mean, it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially, I mean, they talk about like narcissists and things and love bombing, and it is a thing. So when you are a person who hasn't gotten your seed watered, right? And you're just sitting there and you're just like, and then someone love bombs you with all of this, they're like overwatering your seed. You're sitting there going, this is amazing, right? So you take it all in, but it's really unhealthy, right? It's there is that balance, like what you're talking about. So I think it's a really important note that you really need to be aware of how is your seed being watered, and is it being watered in a healthy way?
Yeah. So I think I'm noticing the time, so we're good. I wanted to conclude with a little story, and
I know
also
we could go forever.
I know we
I
can.
know.
We totally
I
can.
feel like we only touched on the first bullet point.
I know it's true. But like, I want to conclude with a short story of how I started thinking more, recently, about receiving. And it was this last Sunday was the last day of an online program with a guru, and it was like the conclusion. And so in the program, like he always say you need to be willing now, you need to be open, to be willing for the spiritual practice. He offers like meditation like that. And while I was in meditation, I realized this is also, I see I'm blocked to receive. And this is where he talks about the willingness. I'm not fully receiving his energy in because of the connection of I'm not worth it and all that was that part. And so that's so how important it is to work on your receiving also for your spiritual journey or personal journey, because you can tap into all this higher frequency. Also, Castagna said about the abundance, about love, the love that is everywhere. So tapping into this higher frequency, and that. So receiving, as we said, it's multifaceted. There's so many layers. And I would say, at least my last words would be, so just to work on receiving, first of all, notice where you're at with that, and then start to work and observe and bring the awareness of all the different layers inside yourself. As you said, probably there is one that is because you feel, but you're not aware, you feel the intention of the others are not there or they're not in a line. And so that's one thing. And then there's all the work on worthiness, and then all the work on social condition. And so see all that. And then there is all the work that can be on watering your seed of gratitude first, and then abundance, and then receiving. And what are your last words?
Well, my last words are that I am super grateful for receiving this invitation to do this podcast because I've missed it so much.
I know.
Not sure if I'm worthy of the invitation, but that's not my position. That's your position to determine whether I'm worthy or not. And I thank you for that.
Take it in. You are worthy.
Yeah, I'm taking it in. I love it. And I can't wait to do another one.
I agree.
And happy Cacao Ya Doin, everybody.
Yeah, I think my final words would just be that we all have the ability to receive love, all the things that we would like in our lives. It is there. It is really just a matter of being first aware of where are we in that path of receiving. And so I would challenge everyone that's listening to this podcast to really reflect on, receiving? What am I receiving? How am I receiving? And what can I do to not only receive better so that I'm like attuning to that abundance and gratitude, but what can I do to give better as well? Like to really reflect on it. I would challenge all of the people listening to this to really reflect on that, because it's really super important. And our world is all about give and take in everything, just like what you were talking about. That would be my one thing I would just challenge our listeners to.
I have one last thing to add. If you don't think you're worthy, you've been lied to.
Yeah.
That's not true. You've been lied to, and you need to assess it. You need to go take a look at what that is.
Yeah.
Because you are absolutely 100% worthy of everything that you could ever think of.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that way, you've been lied to and you've believed it.
Yeah. 100%.
Definitely the next podcast will be on Worthy because there's so much
there's so much to say on that.
All right.
Perfect.
It's easy. We don't have to scramble 5 minutes beforehand to figure out what we're talking about. I love it. I love you, Melly Mel.
Yes. Yes. Cheers.
Yeah.
Love you.
Thank you so
ready?
much, Lora and Rob. And thank you so much, everyone who's listening. And don't forget to follow us, to share, and ask questions. And also, like, answer Laura's question, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know how people perceive receiving.
Inquiring minds.
Just curious.
Okay, so I'm ready too.
All right.
Cacao ya later.